Ever broken a mirror, open an umbrella inside, or a black cat cross your path? Then you have experienced Deisidaimonia, or what most people know as superstition. Most superstitions today are thoroughly ingrained in our everyday life, regardless of society or culture. So much so that nearly everyone, from normal people to scientists, succumb to them, or at least feel slightly uneasy about not doing so. Let's take a trip back to ancient Greece to unravel this mystery of history. So sit back, throw some salt over your left shoulder, and knock on some wood, because you might find out you're more superstitious than you think. The year is 435 BC. It's a beautiful day in the great city of Athens, Greece. You strap on your preface and head out to the market. Near your destination, you pass the Lyceum, or speaking hall. There, Theophrastus, a pupil of Aristotle, is giving a lecture. You hear the hushed murmurs and dialogue happening inside the large archway between the pillars. You're intrigued, so you decide to step into the back hall to hear the buzz. As Theophrastus clamors about the stage, his bellowing voice draws you in further as he begins to speak on the common Deisidaimonia. You're amazed because you just experienced this exact situation 30 minutes ago on the road to the Angora. A weasel crossed your path. You stumble around for a minute trying to decide if you want to go down around the Elysos, which is quite out of your way, or continue your easy path straight there, just past the Lyceum. Wiping sweat from your brow, you take a step forward, about to cross the line of superstition, when, to your good fortune, a passerby chucks 3 stones across the road. You thank him and the gods for witnessing the debacle and clearing your path of all misfortune. You're brought back to reality by Theophrastus stomping on the stage as he ends the reiteration of characters, his collection of 30 sketches depicting the superstitious man. You chuckle at this rather unexpected delight. You think to yourself, I almost fell prey to being filled with Deisidaimonia. Heading back out, you smile widely as the synchronicity amuses you. And then, in that same moment, the smile fades from your lips as you hear an owl, during the day, hoot aggressively in the distance. With agitation and your head low, you say, Athena is quite a power, and continue down the street. Damn it.
Don't put the hat on the bed.
Superstitious, Joe?
No, but I don't believe in inviting trouble.
The modern interpretation of the Deisidaimon is precisely what we would think superstitious behavior would look like. There are lots of small, obsessive acts, extreme avoidance of certain animals and occasions, and excessive fear of supernatural powers. It is his fearfulness that most obviously characterizes the superstitious man, and that fearfulness leads him to take to extremes a set of practices that, in other contexts, might seem reasonable.
I christen thee the flying wasp.
This, of course, takes us back to the meaning of the word Deisidaimon, fearing the gods. It is precisely this fear that Theophrastus is illustrating. It's appropriate to think that superstitions have been elicited from the fearing of God or gods, as this is the ultimate in the representation of terror or salvation. At least the superstition could be that if there is a God, he must be feared in order for humans to be reverent. On the other hand, a belief in God can give a person an overwhelming sense of love and comfort, a duality inherent in all of us, I would say. Dieter Harmening's book Superstitio addressed the issue of superstition in the Middle Ages. In doing so, Harmoning devised a highly practical categorization of superstitious practices, consisting of a threefold typology: divination, magic, and observation, with two subcategories of signs and times. First, the observation of signs and times simply entails observing properly and interpreting the results, like observing animals' behaviors. Time is a diverse subject and may involve days of the moon or lunaries, weekdays or year prognosis, dates or Egyptian days, and periods or dog days. Second, divination is a type of superstition that is more elaborate to practice and requires more knowledge. Examples of divination are judicial astrology, prophecy, lot casting, geomancy, aeromancy, necromancy, and haruspex, gesundheit. Third, the superstitions belonging to magic are exceedingly hermetical and ritualistic. Examples of magic practices are the use of amulets, incantations, potions, and witchcraft. Divination is more intricate than observation because the participant needs to disclose the information to be observed. Magic is the culmination of superstition in that it requires an even more hermetic procedure, which must be followed to the letter for it to be a success.
It was the greatest magic trick I've ever seen.
Let's take a look at these small but obsessive behaviors of superstition. Recent studies by psychologists have identified a significant correlation between features in the behavior of OCD patients and ritual activities described by anthropologists in a wide range of cultures. The list, which I'll provide a few here, are such that the features include a high proportion that would describe the behavior of Theophrastus's Deisidaimonia, your Uncle Jerry, or your tarot reading friend Katie. Man, she can be convincing. Lucky or unlucky numbers and numbers with special significance. Arranging things or people in a definite configuration. Repeating activities. Saying special prayers or incantations in a set manner. Touching, tapping, or rubbing. Concern or disgust with bodily waste or secretions. And making nonsense sounds, words, or music. Man. In rituals, these actions are socially legitimated and meaningful, while OCD patients are driven to perform actions that have no cultural meaning, except that they mark the person as crazy.
Yeah, and every time my little bride walks through this door, I'll give her a kiss for good luck. Oh. Oh.
Let's filter through the list of our favorite modern-day Deisidaimonia. The list invariably should start with, knock on wood. Most likely among the different theories in English-speaking countries, it's attributed to a 19th century children's game called Tiggy Touchwood, in which young players claimed immunity from being tagged by touching the nearest piece of wood. Adults picked up on the habit and the phrase, and well, for the rest, it's carved in wood. The scientist and author Charles Panetti wrote, "In 18th century London, when metal-smoked waterproof umbrellas began to become a common rainy day sight, their stiff, clumsy spring mechanism made them veritable hazards to open indoors. A rigidly spoked umbrella, opening suddenly in a small room, could seriously injure an adult or a child, or shatter a fragile object. According to folklore, breaking a mirror is a surefire way to doom yourself to 7 years of bad luck. The superstition seems to arise from the belief that mirrors don't just reflect your image, they hold bits of your soul. So maybe don't do this unless you think you're really cool. Like knocking on wood, this superstition also involves the idea of warding off evil. In this case, the devil himself, Old Scratch, was thought to reside just over your left shoulder. Ready to tempt you, the salt was thrown to prevent worse loss from occurring. Others say that the sheer value of salt alone in ancient times led to the belief that to spill it was to incur bad fortune. With origins stretching back over 3,000 years, this is a belief that malevolent glares can bring down harm and misfortune on unsuspecting victims. Its earliest traces can be seen in ancient Mesopotamia. Clay tablets from the 7th century BC have been unearthed, which show not only proof of belief in the evil eye, but the incantations that the Mesopotamians used to ward off its effects. The color black has long been associated with evil and death. This legend has it that cats, particularly black cats, are associated with witches and the devil, thanks to Pope Gregory IX and his war on cats, known as the Vox in Rama. This has been described as an instruction for Catholics to slaughter cats. Magical significance has been attached to the number 13. The Great Betrayer was the 13th member of the dinner party that led to Christ's crucifixion. The fear of the number 13 has become so widespread in Western culture that Friday the 13th is its own phobia, paraskevadukatriophobia. The stigma surrounding superstition lies deeply rooted in the psyche of the human experience. This can be seen not only in the rise of rationalism and science, but also in religion. The ease with which human beings are able to accept the existence of powerful spirits and the human propensity to adopt apparently meaningless rituals as a way of coping with the uncertainties of life are the result of natural selection and are therefore part of what is to be human. For that reason, superstition is unlikely to disappear.
Well, I had a black cat walk over a broken mirror under the lunar module ladder. It didn't seem to be a problem.
There is one more point to note. The mechanism by which these superstitious beliefs and activities are made attractive is not intellectual, but emotional. Rituals are adopted to some extent because they bring comfort, but also because not to carry them out can produce feelings of anxiety. In OCD patients, non-performance creates a strong feeling of fear and anguish. In other words, it can be argued that it is indeed fear that drives superstitious behavior. To that extent, Theophrastus and company were right. What does that say for contemporary American society? I assume the value system we live in creates a disparity of equality. Vague platitudes like the American dream offer some delusional hope that you can become wealthy and live happily, even though most people realize the grim truth about working life and the fleeting feeling of existential crisis knocking at the door at every unlucky turn. There's an entire echelon of people banking on the fact that you don't forget it. Perhaps if you look inward and face your inner Deisidaimonia, the world will become more realistic. With that being said, the higher echelon awaits by the way of the black cat, the black cat. Thanks for tuning in to this episode from Mystery Equals History, your source for meh entertainment. If you're enjoying the way we do things here at Meh, I urge you to help us keep the lights on by going to our membership page here on YouTube or Patreon and start at $3 a month level. I've got some fun ideas for merchandise coming soon and juicier content for you to explore. I work in the education profession, so doing both takes a lot of time and energy, and any support is greatly appreciated. Until the next one, take care of yourself and each other.